I'm LZ Henriquez and you're checking out CISETV. LZ Henriquez, I am a writer, I'm a poet, I'm an occasional vocalist, I'm a music enthusiast for anything with soul. I love the old school, I love jazz, I love hip hop, I love anything that has a soulfulness to it and anything that's raw and a general creative soul. It depends what I'm writing for. If I'm writing for someone who sent me a beat, it's different because I'm actually contained in a subject or a time restraint or something. So if someone sends me something and I'm moved by it, I'll listen to it again and again and again. And I'll kind of have to put my head at wherever that requires me to be. If I'm just writing for me, it's usually on the back of me being inspired or moved by something. So, I mean, I prefer writing that way. It's more free, it's more liberating. But the process is I'm just inspired and I put some stuff down and it flows, it just tends to flow. I'd say when I create something, I think of what inspired me and I'd like to recreate that in a sense. So I know that feeling that I get when I'm inspired by something or when I'm moved by something, and I'd like to recreate that. I mean, I'm a naturally imaginative person anyway, so whenever I hear something or I see something, I always think of how else could I communicate that to people. So also when I create, I don't like to do what's been done. I know everything's been done in a sense, but I always like to bring that element of surprise or bring that element of thought that people didn't think was originally there. So I'd say that's how. I love visiting New York. I love New York. I love the grassroots underbelly to New York. I love how there's somewhere beautiful on one side of the street and then there's somewhere rose from concrete on the other side of the street, but they both coexist. It's like a walk-in muse, I'd say New York is. It's fast-paced. It's got a culture to it. I love anywhere with culture. And it's got a flavour. I love that. I went to Morocco earlier this month. As I said, I'm a big culture person, so you could put me anywhere and I'll just fit in or whatever. And the culture in Morocco is dope. It's a very strong culture they have in Morocco. I love the food. It's historic also, the architecture. Everything is beautiful, it's really picturesque. And I think when you're somewhere that's far from like the Western influence, you get back to human interaction. You get back to appreciating stuff for what they are, regardless of, you know, finance or what someone else co-signed or whatever. So Morocco was beautiful. My mum's from St. Lucia in the Caribbean, so that's home to me. That's like my getaway whenever I'm there. Even though it's not new as such, it's still a favourite place because it holds memories, it's your heritage, it's what you grew up on. So it's kind of like an affirmation of you as a person. And I love the Caribbean, the music, the food, everything. So I'd say they're my favourite places. East 54th came about because I used to do a poetry night. And there was a dude who always had the dopest beats. No one knew where he got them from. And he had sent me one day and he was like, oh, I want you to write to this. And I couldn't write to it. It was a dope beat. It was precious to where I didn't want to not do justice. And about a year later, a friend of mine, like my closest girl, we share music. So she sent me a beat and she was like, oh, a friend of mine called Text, his name's Black Text, he's a rapper. She was like, oh, he just dropped this new track, so what do you think? And I thought it was dope. Because I've always loved production, I asked her who produced it and she had said King I Divine. Hadn't heard the name as such, but we ended up talking soon after that, me and King I Divine. And I started looking through his discography of like older stuff because I had heard some of the music, I just didn't know it was him. And I realised his was the track from like the year before. And I was like, so I've been listening to you for like a minute. And his music was just dope, it was just automatic. I just resonated with it and I was a fan from then. And he heard some of my stuff. And he was like, I think we should find a way to kind of mix them together and do some tracks together. And it ended up as a whole conceptualized album. It was based on the fact that he's from New York, and it was my first time in New York because that's the first year I visited. It was based on summer. If you hear it, there's a lot of elements that just sound straight New York, you know? It was his first album that was all original, so no samples. And it just, you know, it pushed both of us because I wasn't used to necessarily working with someone and to music. And he wasn't used to necessarily doing stuff originally or basing it on out of nowhere. So it was good because it pushed both of us. Cloud 127 was like the follow-up. We wanted to do something that was more liberal in a sense, because East 54th was about New York. So I think with Cloud 127, we based it on the play with the numbers of Cloud 9. Cloud 9's meant to be escapism and euphoria and so on. And we just wanted to present that in music, so with elements of hip-hop and spoken word and vocals and, you know, just abstractness in general. So also, our birthdays are both on the 27th of January. So the 127 and the 9 just went hand in hand. And we said we had to do a follow-up and that would be it. And we did it. I'd say that he's very soulful. Even if he's doing boom bap, even if he's doing, you know, a club type anthem, whatever he would do, even if he did trap, and I'd kill him if he did trap, everything he does has an element of soul to it. And I think he keeps that consistent in anything he does, and it's effortless. I've seen him create a beat and he won't necessarily intend for it to sound soulful, but it does. And because I'm a big soul person and I love soul myself, we've just always resonated with that. We have a lot of the same influences in terms of old school music, in terms of original hip hop even. And I think with me, he just seems to get my rhythm and my flow and he just goes with it. So it's like, he'll create something, I'll write to it, or I'll write to something and he'll say, this made me think of this, and he creates around that. So we just seem to complement each other, it just goes. I'd love to work with Andre 3000. It's just eclectic in every angle of the word, and it's been consistent. That's what I have to respect about it. Regardless of what rappers doing elsewhere, it's just always been how Andre 3000 does it. If Tupac was alive, I'd still work with Tupac. I love Tupac. I'd say D'Angelo, because he just embodies soul for me. I love D'Angelo. I think Miles Davis would have been dope. Miles Davis or Herbie Hancock, just how they orchestrated music in general. I think that infused with whatever that I do or whatever it would bring out of me, I think that would be dope. I just love artists that are, you know, raw to the art form and just authentic with it, you know? You can tell if somebody's created something for what purpose. So you could tell if someone did it just because they wanted to put a track out, or if someone did something and they felt it, or someone did something and they were just inspired, like you can tell. And I think their music embodied that 100%. So if I could do with them, then I'd do so. I'm definitely putting out an EP this year. I've put it off for a long time. I love live elements. In addition to beats and instrumentals, I love live elements. So rounding up the resources to have live music on a project, and I'd like it to be a concept. I love pieces of music that actually follow a concept, you know? And I think if I was to do that, I'd want it to be a strong concept, I'd want it to have a narrative, and I'd have to put a lot into that and have a lot of other things going on right now. But I definitely would put out an EP this year. I'm also working on a few more poetry videos. The videos I've had before, I'd say they were just to have something out or just to put some visuals. I've had thought to them, but I'd more want to focus on something kind of cinematic, something that can evoke something from someone. Something that can either inspire someone or educate someone or whatever, just make someone feel good from it. So I'm working on some visuals for some new poems at the moment. From my music, And my poetry, I'd say they can take that. I always emphasize on being original. I think that's really important. I think that has more longevity than anything, because that can't necessarily be replicated. You know, if that's you and that's what you do and that's your art, then you do that, you know? I definitely say to stay original. There's a bunch of gimmicks out right now, and there's trends, and they'll recycle and they'll return and they'll come back, but there's no substance to them. So I'd say be original as you are, and that will speak for itself. I always hope to do that with my music and my creation, so I'd say that.
And what's something your fans don't know about you?
Okay, let me change it up. Everyone seems to see me on videos and think I'm like really tall. Everyone meets me and they're like, oh my goodness, you're tiny. So I'm 5'2" on the dot, right? I'm always in heels or something, but I'm teeny, like I'm tiny. So don't let the videos fool you. That wasn't even an intention anyway. I don't know how I look tall on videos. I'm never standing next to anybody, but I'm teeny in person. I'm like sweet and petite, like 100%.